So dear friends, hope you had a very meaningful celebration of Easter, although in lockdown. Today we reflect on this Easter Monday. We reflect on the resurrection of Jesus, which is presented in chapter 20 of our study of the Gospel. And the resurrection, according to John's Gospel, there are 4 resurrection scenes which are all in Jerusalem, which we have in chapter 21 to 29. This presentation of the 4 scenes which happen in Jerusalem. In these 4 scenes, 2 scenes are near the tomb and 2 scenes are in the room. Again, among these 4 scenes, there are 2 scenes which are the resurrection of Jesus, the resurrection appearance of Jesus to the individuals, to Mary Magdalene, and the 4th one, last one, to Thomas, and then the first and the third to groups. So, 2 resurrection appearance to individuals, 2 resurrection appearance to the groups. Now, the resurrection appearance near the tomb, we have the presentation in 1 verse 1, 20 verse 1 to 18, 2 scenes which happen near the tomb. The first scene, look at the first scene, that is from 3, verse 3 to 10. There is the vision of the empty tomb. There is no presence of Jesus there. The risen Jesus is not presented there. In fact, the presentation is of the empty tomb, which is a clear sign of the resurrection. The symbol of the resurrection is the empty tomb. And so we have the Simon Peter and the beloved disciple. They see the empty tomb. They see the linen wrappings and the clothes that Jesus wore. Those things they see. And it is said that the beloved disciple really believed. In 28, if you read, it is said the other disciple who reached the tomb first also went in, and he saw and believed without seeing the Lord. Later we find when Jesus appears to Thomas, he would say, "Blessed are those who have not seen me and yet believe." And then one clear example is a beloved disciple who did not see but believe. The whole thing will begin by verse 1, which says that the first day of the week, if you look at the Synoptic Gospels, Mark 16, 1 to 2, will say Sabbath was over, which would indicate it was Sunday. Again, Matthew 28, 1 also will give us that reference. And Jesus leaving his clothes behind. He has resurrected, but his clothes are behind, which we already discussed in chapter 11 when we are discussing about Lazarus episode. We said that Lazarus comes out bound. Jesus leaves behind the clothes, which is very clearly saying that Jesus would not die again. He has entered once again. He has gone once again back to the Father. He would not die again. Eternal life abode with the Father. So that is how the first scene that we have got. The disciples go, they see the empty tomb, they believe. They see the clothes only, they believe. Coming to the second scene, which we have from 11, verse 11 to 18, there is Mary Magdalene at the tomb. And Jesus appears to Mary Magdalene. To the question that why did Mary Magdalene come to the tomb? We can have many answers to that, many reasons for that. Mark and Luke would say that she came to anoint the body. In Matthew, it would say to see the tomb. But then anointing is already done for Jesus before his death itself. By Mary, there is anointing that has happened. Maybe that Mary has come just to weep at the tomb. We saw that when Lazarus dies also, there is Mary and many Jews, etc. going to the tomb in order to weep at the tomb. And so maybe that Mary came to weep at the tomb. Then there is the appearance of Jesus, but then Mary does not recognize Jesus at the appearance. And that is only at his voice. When Jesus calls her Mary, then she recognizes and she calls back saying, Rabboni. Look at chapter 10 when Good Shepherd episode was presented. Jesus very clearly says, "My sheep hears my voice." No? The sheep would identify the master by the voice. Here the sight does not. By the sight, Mary does not identify. This delayed recognition is also seen in the case of the disciples on the way to Emmaus, which we find in Luke. They did not recognize Jesus at the sight. Again, in chapter 21, tomorrow we'll see chapter 21, there is the appearance of Jesus near the Sea of Tiberias. There also the disciples do not understand by the appearance. Delayed recognition. Slowly they recognize that it is Jesus. Now that very clearly shows the continuity yet the transformed state of the risen body. The risen body of Jesus, there was a continuity from his earthly body, but at the same time there is some sort of a transformation that has happened to the risen body. St. Paul would explain it very beautifully in 1 Corinthians 15:42 about the transformation that would happen to the body, to everyone's body, our own bodies after our death. So this episode also will tell us that the mere sight is not necessary that by mere sight it will lead us to faith. No, it's not a guarantee that by seeing Jesus we will have faith. Jesus has to ascend to the Father after completing his work. That's why Jesus, when Mary would recognize him, he would say, "Do not hold on to me, I must ascend to my Father." So there is an urgency from the part of Jesus to ascend to his Father. Okay. That is so. Jesus has come down, now he has to go back to the Father. So physically he is no longer present, but he will continue in the spirit that he will give. That spirit is presented here. In fact, the next scene that we have from 20 and 22, we have got Jesus giving the spirit to his disciples. He gives his spirit to the disciples. So permanently he will be present in the world through his spirit. Then we find in 20:18, we'll find the announcement by Mary Magdalene. She would go back to the disciples and would say that I have seen the Lord. So Mary Magdalene is the announcer of the good news. And so she is called in the church as the Apostola Apostolorum, the apostle of the apostles. Now she is truly the apostle of the apostle. She is the official witness of Jesus' resurrection. There is also something that is very, very important to remember, that a woman is a true witness. For a Jew, a woman was not an actual a witness. The witness of a woman was not counted, but for the resurrection of Jesus, a woman is a true witness. And our faith is based on that announcement made by Mary Magdalene. So we have got these two episodes. The appearance of Jesus near the tomb, there is the empty tomb, and then Jesus appearing to Mary Magdalene. And then away from the tomb, again we have got two scenes. First scene we have got from 19 to 23. That is on Easter Sunday evening, Jesus gives peace to his frightened disciples. Now see the contrast between Mary Magdalene, who is not at all frightened. She is standing at the tomb. She is very courageous. Her love for Jesus makes her to stay on there near the tomb. But the disciples are frightened. They are in the room, closed up. And then Jesus comes there. He has conquered sin. He has conquered all the powers of evil. And then he comes and says, "Do not fear." Now the disciples have to go outside these closed doors and continue the mission of Jesus. That's why we have got, when Jesus appears to these disciples, immediately he would give them the mission. Jesus would give them the mission. He would spell out the mission, that is continuation of his own mission. The mission that we have received as a church is the continuation of the mission of Jesus. And then Jesus would breathe his spirit onto them to equip them for the mission. So they need to have that power of the spirit to go out and continue the mission of Jesus. And so Jesus would breathe his spirit onto them, and this spirit will be given much more in full, the Acts of the Apostles. And then the disciples are receiving the spirit. Okay? So spirit was breathed into the creation to give life. We read in Genesis 2:7, after the creation, spirit is breathed into the creation. Now spirit is breathed on to the disciples. Again, we have to see the first mission that is given to the disciples is to liberate people from sin. That is the first mission of the apostle, of a disciple of Jesus. The first is to liberate, because the first mission of Jesus himself was that he came to liberate us from sin, and so this same mission is given to the disciples as the first mission, to liberate people from sin. Secondly, the second scene, which is away from the tomb, we have from 24 onwards, or more specifically 26 onwards, 26 to 29, we have Jesus appearing to Thomas. So just like the disciples did not believe in the announcement of Mary Magdalene, so too the Thomas does not believe in the announcement of the disciples. So when Thomas would come back, the disciples, other disciples would tell him that they have seen the Lord. But Thomas is reluctant to believe, just like the disciples were reluctant to believe the announcement of Mary Magdalene. And then the risen Lord will meet him. Thomas does not touch Jesus, but then he will utter the profound or highest Christological confession in the fourth gospel. There is my Lord and my God. Definitely, there is the highest Christological confession that we have. Okay? And thus Jesus would appear to Thomas. And then, friends, this chapter 20 would end by a summary, which we have a conclusion, which we have in 30 and 31, verse 30 and 31, is showing the purpose of this book. It's almost the conclusion of the gospel. So, the future disciples, you and me, we have to believe, even though we cannot see the risen Lord. We are to know Jesus from the scriptures, from what is written. In this book, from what is written, we need to know that Jesus is truly the Messiah. Jesus is truly the Son of God. Now, that is very, very specific, very, very important for us to understand as well. That our faith is based on what is already written. Our faith is not to be based on many visions, or we are not called to aspire for many visions, etc. But we are called to believe Jesus based on the scriptures. So the aim of the evangelist is very clearly mentioned at the end, saying that to make people believe that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God, and by believing that Jesus is the Messiah, to bring people to eternal life. Now that's how this chapter 20 will end. So as we are still celebrating this resurrection of the Lord, we are in this Easter time, let us truly believe in Jesus, believe in the resurrection of Jesus, not based on any visions, but based on the scriptures.